The Digital Photography Cafe show is brought to you by Focus Pyramid, the autofocus lens calibration tool for your camera, and by Mosaic, your Lightroom photos automatically on every device and backed up, and by Shootproof, the easy way to proof and sell your photos online.
Welcome to the Digital Photography Cafe show. Join hosts Trevor Curran and Joseph Christina as they chat about the art and business of photography.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. This is episode 95. I'm Joseph Christina here with my co-host Trevor Curran. On last week's show, we talked about Instagram hitting 100 million monthly active users, accurate light metering on a budget, and building business relationships by thinking more like a partner and less like a vendor. If you haven't watched last week's show, I encourage you to do so. You can find it at our website, digitalphotographycafe.com, in iTunes, listen with the popular Stitcher, TuneIn, and Xbox music apps, or watch in HD on TiVo.
So Joe, we're back. How's it going?
Good, not bad. We're freezing over here. It's like 58 degrees outside.
Ugh. My heart bleeds for you. Actually, we're supposed to get up to about 50 this weekend.
Oh, congratulations. So
a lot of time.
Yeah, exactly. You're definitely into the spring with that kind of weather.
Yes.
In Jersey, at least. So anyways, so let's jump right into it this week. We got so much good stuff and so little time to cover it, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, yeah, we found this interesting little camera attachment thing called a RhinoCam.
Right.
So for those of you who have some medium format glass, like from an old Mamiya or Hassie or something like that, this is really kind of neat. You can actually attach your medium format glass to this camera mount, and then you can take a small Sony NEX camera and mount to the back of it and use the sensor from the NEX camera to capture like a multi-image, like a stitched image, kind of like what a Gigapam would do. Only this will take like 6 to 8 images and kind of mush them all together in post to create a really high resolution final product.
Right. And instead of getting that convex type of like distortion, you don't get any of that because it's solid linear. It's actually taking the images, because everyone knows that, or if you don't, let me tell you, a medium format lens, the backside of it is absolutely huge. It captures a ton of data. And so you're going to take this little tiny thumbnail, or even smaller pinky nail size sensor. And what you're going to do is you're going to take a picture right across that entire, basically look through that lens. And that's how it's going to stitch together. It'll be completely flat, and you'll end up with a really nice shot in comparison to sometimes like with a Gigapan or whatnot. It's having to compensate for distortion as it's kind of wrapping the image across. So it's a really cool idea. I like it. And especially that you can use, old equipment. So basically this thing is like about what, $500?
It's $500 for the mount. Then you have to have your own lenses. I mean, this isn't for somebody who doesn't already have lenses. I mean, you certainly don't want to go out and buy medium format glass for this thing. But yeah, I mean, if you already have the glass, you buy the mount for $500. You can get an NEX camera for, I mean, whatever, $500, $600, $700.
Yeah, it's pretty reasonable. I mean, I could see this great for a landscape photographer, or maybe a external real estate photographer, or even internal. Anytime things are not going to be moving in the frame, because it is going to be taking, 6 to 8 shots. So very cool stuff. It is very specific, but there's folks that might want to go and take a look at it. So pretty cool. RhinoCam, go take a look. And then something that is very interesting, of course, to you as the web guy, the developer and whatnot. So WooCommerce, which is kind of like the de facto shopping cart for, WP, for WordPress, is now brand new, right? In 2.0 version.
Yeah, they got a new version now, version 2.0. So if you guys are selling images or digital downloads on your site, and you've kind of cobbled together a shopping cart solution, if you're using WordPress, WooCommerce is definitely a really great option. They've got a ton of add-on modules that allow you to take all kinds of different payment gateways. You can interface it with your email system like MailChimp, Constant Contact. It's got a lot of capabilities. The WooCommerce itself is free. You can pay extra for the add-on modules if you need those, but you may not need those. It's just a really nice solution. You know, in version 2, they added some nice front-end features, which makes the experience a little bit better for your visitors. They've also rewritten a lot of the code, so on the back end, it's a little bit nicer to work with on the server side. Yeah,
the back end is what kind of interests me because, I mean, I tried WooCommerce at the very beginning, and it was a failure. I just had such a hard time, and I ended up moving into something else. But you know, I would be very happy to go take a look at it. The problem is formatting the shopping cart. Yeah.
You know, that's what takes the effort.
And then also the compatibility with your current theme is a major thought that you have to kind of think about too, because some of these themes, and you know, we won't name them, but you've experienced one just recently. Some of these theme developers they develop these themes to look great. Let's say it's for a photographer. The site looks fantastic, but you know, it functions properly if you leave it alone. But no one wants to leave it alone. You want something that's specific to you, right? So to do that, you want to customize it. You want to change, you know, graphics. You want to change color and all this stuff. But then as soon as you do that, what happens? It breaks. So, you know, you really need to make sure that WooCommerce or any of these very, you know, nice packages are compatible with your theme. If not, you're going to be just, you know, biting your nails off. Just, you know, it turns into quite a task, to say the least.
Yeah. It's going to take a lot of effort to format it. I mean, WooCommerce out of the box, if you work with one of Woo themes, that an e-commerce theme, then it's designed for pretty much seamless integration. But again, like you said, when you work with one of these themes out of the box, you are kind of limited to what that theme has to offer. Sure, you may be able to change the header photo, you may be able to change some colors, you know, things like that, but you're not going to have the flexibility necessarily with layout. So you may not be able to move the header or size the header exactly the way you want it. Things like that. And sometimes you got to get a little geeky. You got to dive into the code, into the CSS, things like that to really add the added functionality or design elements that you're looking for. So it can be a little complex, but nonetheless, if you're willing to take and invest a little bit of time and you want a shopping cart for your site, definitely check out WooCommerce.
Definitely one of the best out there. So another thing that we saw kind of come down the pipe is, you know, the new Wacom. They're working on this this multi-touch tablet. Now, if you do not have a tablet, guys, I mean, and you do retouching on a regular basis, or if you do digital art, or if you do anything that would help to have a soft touch, a non-linear touch to an image, look at a tablet. This new, you know, the new Wacom, I mean, they have the Cintiqs out for a while, 22-inch Cintiqs, 24-inch Cintiqs, which are beautiful. And basically what that is basically like a Wacom tablet, but you're writing on let's say a screen.
On a screen. It's a monitor as well as the tablet part of it.
Beautiful. They are absolutely gorgeous. The thing is the new one is going to be more like a tablet, and it's going to give you the functionality of multi-touch. So you'll be able to like kind of pinch in into photos, move things around, maybe 2-finger, you know, 3-finger swipes, all kinds of stuff, which has always been a problem with like a Cintiq, because you're using all the buttons on the screen, you know, on the side, in comparison to, you know, which now with the iPad and with the iPhones and all of the smartphones out there, the whole pinch thing is just it's just makes things easy.
It's what everybody's used to now.
Exactly. And it just makes stuff simple. So they're introducing that. So it's definitely something to look at. The thing with Cintiqs are 22, 24-inch. You're looking at $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, big dollar numbers. Yeah, chances are this multi-touch is going to be like that also, right?
Yeah, well, this isn't just an input device. This is actually a tablet, like an iPad or an Android, you know, a Galaxy tablet or something like that.
Right.
It is going to have its own operating system. They don't know what it's going to be yet.
Right.
You know, this is still very, you know, kind of like just in the planning stages, I guess. But, you know, I mean, Wacom has basically come out and said that we're working hard on this because we see, you know, a lot of the creatives, they like using the tablets, and that, you know, with the competition of the iPads and things like that out there, just recently, I think with our CES coverage, we talked about a Panasonic tablet that's coming out.
Right.
And we were saying how really cool that would be, and, you know, that you can use a stylus on it. And if it gave you the ability to do, you know, actually run like Photoshop or something.
I think when we introduced that a few shows back, I labeled it as a Wacom killer, and I can definitely say that they have to step up the game as far as pricing goes when it comes to these multi-touch type of quote unquote tablets, because there's going to be a lot that are going to be coming out. They're going to be running Android and some other operating systems, and they make life so much easier. Okay, so you don't have $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. What do? Grab a Wacom. They have some Wacom tablets that are just simply the input device itself. You can get them for $100, $200, $250. Depends on the size of them. They go from really small, like 4x3s to larger, almost like 8x10 size input devices. I like the big ones, but regardless, pretty cheap. And if you do, like I said, any type of creation when it comes that would benefit you from, let's say, using an airbrush, and you can actually use like an adapter and kind of spray, or let's say a feather, like a brush itself, and maybe a feather or some other type where it can help you to have 1,000 to 2,000, let's say, degrees of pressure. So you can go extremely fat on, let's say, putting down paint, to really thin and just slowly kind of fade stuff off. It is absolutely a no-brainer for retouching. It will make your life less freaking miserable. It'll be less laborious to get in there and do that retouching. So definitely look at a tablet. If you never played with one, play with one. It's about a week learning curve, but it is well worth it.
I tell you, I used to do airbrush photo retouching.
Yeah, I remember that.
In color too, not just black and white.
Yeah.
And oh man, that was a job.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed airbrushing. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed doing illustration work and stuff like that. But honestly, the new software, the software we have today, the new input devices that we have today, it definitely makes production work much better. Oh yeah. As far as an art form though, I still like to airbrush. I mean, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Just don't have the time.
Definitely. And I don't, I think that, you doing what you do on more on the design side, you probably won't use it as much, but as soon as you start, painting or doing any kind of gradations where you really want to get in there and kind of feel what you're doing, I mean, a tablet can't be beat. So anyways, kind of moving forward, Blackmagic, we talked about them about, I don't even know how many episodes ago, a while ago, in regards to their video capture device, which was really kind of interesting. And we kind of delved into it a little bit and looked at the new model and what it has, and it looks pretty neat. What do you think?
Yeah, this looks really cool. It's their new, we had mentioned they had released this camera kind of into the wild. It's like a cinema camera. It's an input device. You can strap your Canon lenses onto it, either the EF lenses or EFS, along with other EF mount lenses. So whether it's Zeiss glass, whether it's cinema specific glass, or what have you, it's really cool. But what's interesting about this is a 2.5K sensor. Right. So it's like 25% larger than standard HD, full HD, which is 1920 by 1080.
Exactly.
So this is pretty cool from a video editor standpoint, from a creative standpoint, is it does give you the ability to shoot a little larger. And if you need to crop in, if you need to zoom, if you need to move the image around, you can do that. You have some extra resolution there, and you're not going to lose your quality.
Right. You have the leeway. You have that, like you said, extra amount. One of the pain points of shooting, let's say, a 5D or whatnot, 5D Mark II, Mark III, whatever, which were kind of the way a lot of us were doing video. The problem with it is, of course, you have that little 3-inch monitor in the back, which it's not enough. So what we would do is we attach a bracket to the top and we stick on a 5, 6, 7-inch monitor to monitor what's going on. So that's all great and everything. Well, this unit actually comes with a 5-inch backside, LCD. So you can actually monitor on the back of this. It is not the prettiest device, but it's highly functional. It's very, very cool. When you strap on a big lens to this, it's like this big on the back, very cool. But like you said, 2.5K, you're looking 25% more resolution. Like you said, you can crop in 25% and you won't degrade your image, which is really, really powerful. Now, I think even more powerful, the biggest issue here is that instead of capturing a JPEG, which like a 5D would capture, which gives you almost no latitude for changing anything, just a little bit of color grading. That's about it. You really can't increase brightness, decrease very effectively because it's the equivalent of taking a JPEG and playing with it.
Yeah, it's equivalent of a JPEG.
This unit is actually capturing in digital RAW, and it's a RAW file. Yep. So that gives you now the ability that I think it's like 13 plus stops of light that you could control. Of course, you could do all your color grade on it and everything else. So this could actually be used very effectively for doing a commercial, for just think about shooting a wedding where it's extremely dark. 13 stops of light is sick. Yeah. I mean, this is, you know, and then having that 25% reduction, you can actually take something from full size, reduce it to a 1080p. Now you just dropped out a lot of that noise to begin with, and then you can go and play with the color grades as well as brightness. So,
yeah, some of the samples they show on Blackmagic's website are really nice. I mean, it is equivalent to shooting a still image in RAW. It really gives you the ability to pull in all those subtleties, you know, in the shadows and in the highlights, and that can really make the difference from something that looks like video shot on a small consumer handy cam or something like that to something that really does look more professional, more cinema-like. Yes. So yeah, definitely a really cool
camera. So it gives
camera.
your guys in post the ability to play with like a single shot. Let's say you have a woman backlit and she's on the street. Well, in 30 seconds of the footage, you can have her extremely well lit and the background completely blown out. With the same footage, you can go ahead and darken her up extremely. And now bring which was used to be blown out, the city street in, let's say, in a nice, you know, perfectly colored as well as perfectly lit background. And she's darkened out. So you can actually tell a story in a single little, you know, slice of film in comparison to before. You'd have to shoot the same shot twice. You'd have to shoot it for her lit, and then you'd have to shoot it for the street lit. So, you know,
and then edit it together.
Exactly. So like we say, time is money. Very cool. This is something, and the price is right?
Yeah, it's like $2,500 or something, isn't it? I mean, it's not that expensive for a body, and you know, and it shoots on SSD. I mean, it really, I mean, it's definitely pro level.
Exactly.
So,
all right, guys, listen. Before we go any further and get into some meaty stuff, hang in there for a moment, and we're going to take a break to hear from a couple of our sponsors.
Are you frustrated with slightly out of focus images when you know your autofocus spot was dead on? It's simply not your fault. From manufacturer to manufacturer and even lens copy to lens copy, there are slight variances to the exact spot where light is being focused onto the sensor. Finally, there's a product that allows you to compensate for those variances and make sharper images immediately. Focus Pyramid, the autofocus lens calibration tool, is an absolute must for every photographer. If you want to make the sharpest images possible, then you need to take control over your camera's focusing system. With the Focus Pyramid, you can calibrate all of your lenses on your lunch break. The Focus Pyramid makes lens calibration quick and easy at an affordable price. So give your lenses a new lease on life and take your photography to the next level. Head over to focuspyramid.com/DPC and get an additional 10% off just for being a show listener. From phones, tablets, laptops, and PCs, these days photographers use multiple internet-connected devices.
Have you ever wished you could view your Lightroom images, folders, collections, and metadata from any of these devices? Now you can.
Mosaic Storage Systems has created Mosaic View, an application that gives you access to your images without exporting or using a publishing service.
Mosaic also offers Mosaic Archive, which directly integrates with Lightroom as a powerful cloud backup solution.
Mosaic gives photographers access to all of their images from anywhere on virtually any device.
Try Mosaic View today for free and access 2,000 of your most recent images.
As a Digital Photography Cafe viewer, Mosaic is offering a 20% discount off any of their premium plans.
Go to mosaicarchive.com and use coupon code DPC at checkout.
Mosaic. Lightroom, anywhere, any device, secure, backed up. As photographers, we're always trying to increase sales and profits after every event.
We shoot an event and have hundreds or even thousands of images that just sit on our hard drives.
Perhaps a better workflow would increase sales by getting those valuable images in front of the client.
That's where ShootProof comes in. At shootproof.com, you can have an online gallery for all of your clients' proofing needs.
ShootProof helps increase profits while building your brand and securing your photos without charging commission fees on sales.
ShootProof galleries display your photos beautifully while helping to streamline your workflow and automate more of your business through their intuitive studio control panel.
Once approved, photos can be directly fulfilled through ShootProof's various professional lab partners or fulfilled by you.
All ShootProof plans have the same feature set. You simply choose the number of client photos stored, decide what products to sell, and the price.
Try ShootProof today by taking advantage of their free 30-day trial offer.
As a Digital Photography Cafe viewer, ShootProof is offering a 20% discount off any of their premium plans by using promo code DPC20 at checkout.
ShootProof. Upload, share, sell, print. So Joe, we are back. And you know what? I got an email this week from somebody, and it really kind of, started sparking some thoughts into my brain about, about using special effects plugins, like creative plugins in post, whether it be for Photoshop or Lightroom, Aperture. And the idea being is using these creative effects plugins, are they kind of cheapening your art that you're creating, or are they adding to the art? And it really started me thinking about it, and thinking about it both from a commercial standpoint, a production standpoint, as well as an artistic standpoint.
Yeah. And I think this is the beauty how, we are completely opposite on what we do. You have done design basically forever. I've done more on the art and the photography and that type of thing on the other side. Right. So we can look at this in two different ways. One, as we always say, time is money. And, linearly, in a straight line, get from point A to point B using, let's say, some type of filter would be, one aspect, which would be more on the design side. And then on the art side, getting from point A to point B for me would be more of a meander around.
Kind of a curvy road.
Curvy road to kind of, to play and to experiment and whatnot to get that vision that I was, trying to come up with. Now, the whole idea with this, is using filters, cheating or whatnot. I don't think that anything that we do on the computer is cheating, just like I didn't believe that, going into the dark room and actually retouching photos was quote unquote cheating. This is just the nature of the beast. This is what we can do, and we should allow ourselves to do it to create the look that we're trying to create. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, from a design and production speed standpoint, I'm of the opinion, use whatever tool is going to get the job done the best and the fastest. If one of these plugins gives you the ability to, add an effect that the art director or the designer is looking for, and you can do it and do it quickly and give them that look, they're really not going to care how you got there. They're just going to care about the final product. It's important from a design, from a commercial standpoint. It's important to get the look you want as quickly as possible. The whole time is money and everything.
So, I mean, for me, the way I look at it is like this. There is a ton of filters out there that you can buy. You can make your own filters in Lightroom or Aperture, which I recommend, because then they're specifically designed for you and the look that you're going for. I do not like when a specific look takes hold in the community, let's say the photographic community, and then everyone is doing this certain look, right? It gets old, played out, and then you become, the person that instead of is unique, you become the more of the same guy,
Sure. Well, that was like, when the HDR technique came out, using multiple images, merging them together through software. Everybody was getting kind of that surrealistic look, this Dali type of look. It was like so intense. And then, in the very beginning, that was kind of the look, and there was a few people doing it, and then everybody jumped on the bandwagon. Then, then it kind of got this classified HDR look to it. Then you got other people that were in there and taking a more subtle approach to HDR, using it for the extended dynamic range, but not over pushing it. And those were the people who were really kind of starting to set themselves apart using the same technique. The same goes with these plugins. I mean, you may get a plugin that allows you to make a certain effect. Okay. So you could take the same photo, give it to two different people on two different ends of the earth, tell them, all right, here's the plugin for Photoshop. Use this plugin, take this photo and use these settings. And both people will get almost
Very
identical results.
Yeah, more of the, as I call it, more of the same. Exactly. More of the same. I agree 110% with that. The idea of, taking a plugin and using it and creating the exact same thing as the next guy, more of the same is not the way to go. The other side of that is, like you were saying with the HDR folks, HDR, HDR turned it into, it almost became something, whereas, everyone was doing it. It had this crazy surreal look to it. And that's just what people understood what a high dynamic range image should look like. And that's not necessarily what it is. We did high dynamic range images in the darkroom, 25 years ago. But the thing is the people that did it right and used these tools as just that, a tool, and not allowed the tool to take control of their art, everything to me was fine. And the same thing that I would say about these plugins and these filters. Use them as a tool, get to point A, but don't take it all the way to point B. Get it to where it's close to what you're looking for, and then start, as I would say, meandering around it to get exactly the look that you're looking for, because you don't want to be more of the same. You don't want to be like everyone else. You need to have a specific look that's yours, and then you could take that final look and create it into your own filter and use that use that as a beginning point in the future. So that would be my suggestion.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, again, it's a tool. It's not, you shouldn't, everybody's going to have their own opinion about it. I mean, I think they're fine to use when used properly. There are going to be the purists out there that say, no, you should never use anything like that. I mean, there are going to be people out there that say you should never do any post-processing. Right. You should take that digital image right out of the camera, and whatever you get. That's your art. I don't particularly agree with that either, because it may not be what you envisioned, in your mind that you get out of the camera. Maybe you need to tweak the contrast a little bit. Maybe you need to tweak the color a little bit. We have the tools. I don't see a problem using them. I think it really comes down to how you use them. Are you being creative in using them, or are you being more mundane, more of the same? And that's really what you got to do.
So real world here. If you listen to the show in the past, you know that I also do, besides commercial photography, I do fine art photography. And, I show my work at different galleries and whatnot. And my thing is extremely large, black and white liquid prints, not, like a chemical print, old school chemical print. So they last absolutely, for, let's say, a long period of time. Anyway, so that's my thing. Now, those black and whites that I do are, of course, processed through Photoshop. They get originally brought in through Lightroom. I put my spin on them, which are actions that I've created, and then I tweak each individual image to show exactly what I'm trying to show, or to say exactly what I'm trying to say with the image. Like, I should bring up an image here of me. Okay, so here's me and my wife, and we're at the gallery, and right over my shoulder is a piece that I call the messenger. And, here you can see it's a black and white image, but it was processed in a way to kind of make a statement to, and everyone that kind of sits in front of it is very large. They get a different feel from it. Some positive, some negative, some demonic, some heavenly. Everyone gets a different idea, and that's good. That's really what I was going for. But the idea here wasn't done with a filter. It was done with my, cobbling together my own filters, and then go and, and change it so that it, kind of says what I wanted to say. That's a perfect example of using, the tools that you have to take a great picture and elevate it, to me, into something exceptional that is now, a piece that's being sold to a lot of people. Like on this specific night, I was doing signings, and we sold a lot of that specific print. And there's many more that we did that. But anyway, so it's that kind of thing. You really want to use everything that's at your disposal as a tool and nothing more. The thing that I cannot stand is when someone says, "Hey, what camera did you use to take that picture?"
Yeah,
I swear to God. If
I know it was a Polaroid instant.
Yeah, I could just strangle. That's always it.
I know, so, it's crazy.
Anyways, before we go, that's definitely a rabbit hole. We can go into that for hours.
But
another thing that I was thinking about when we were talking about that topic was the idea of print. And obviously now that I do a lot of printing. I love printing, and to me, everyone out there is saying print is dead. Print is dead. This is more of a reason for you to start printing, because everyone else thinks print is dead. So,
sure.
And there's a multitude of reasons why, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, aside from printing your photography work, I mean, I personally think that's always a great idea. I mean, so many people, shoot images and they only ever live in digital form on your computer somewhere. I'm definitely of the opinion, print them out, frame them, hang them on your walls, what have you. But then, talk about print from a business standpoint. All right. So yeah, I mean, everybody is talking about, making their portfolios on the iPad now, and having them in digital format and stuff like that. And that's great. I mean, and that works really well. It allows you to have a ton of different images in there, categorized different ways and what have you. But the idea of also maybe having that printed portfolio and taking that to see a client as opposed to just the iPad really has something to be said for it too. I mean, Joe, I mean, you do a lot of these leather bound albums and stuff like that. And I mean, sure. When you grab one of those and you smell it and you feel it and stuff, I mean, it just has a certain, sense to it. It invokes a certain feeling. Yeah. Now, here's, maybe an idea would be to take an album that maybe you would create for a couple for their wedding, but make that into your portfolio. Create
Absolutely.
An album for your portfolio.
Do a flush note. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. For a while there, I was a proponent actually to, bringing an iPad to, meetings and whatnot, yep. and showing your work, because it does display the work beautifully. But, seeing the work in print somehow, I don't know, makes it more legitimate. I don't know. I don't even know what that even means.
It just evokes a feeling of it being real.
Yeah, it's like when you see it, it's like, oh, that can be photoshopped, or that could be,
sure.
distorted, something. But when you actually see it, obviously it can be, worked on, but you have in your hand. And the idea of, touching, smelling, tasting that leather. I mean, there's something to be said about that. You can't get that, that sensation of turning those thick pages to see your portfolio, that actual movement. And that's why, just think about it, why Apple created that flip where you're taking from the right side, flipping it to the left, just like what we do in a book, because it invokes that type of feeling that we're actually reading something more physical and not virtual. So yeah, there's something to be said for that. Absolutely. And this goes into brochures and ad campaigns and everything else. Take the time to, instead of continuously bombard, let's say, the ether with your ads through email, through Facebook, through Google, through whatever, take some extra time to design something, print it, and hand it out or send it out or whatever, the case might be, and see what the response is. You will be surprised. People are starting to become, especially if it looks amazing, people are starting to save these things a little bit more in comparison to a year or two ago, where a lot of it would go into the trash. We're seeing more people hanging on to it and using, let's say, codes on the back, scanning, what are they, the codes that you have, what QR codes?
Yeah, the QR codes.
And this type of thing. We're seeing a lot of that. So it's something to look into.
Yeah, there's definitely something to be said, again, about the printed brochure. I mean, it gives you a leave behind item. Right. So after your meeting, you can, hand them something, and again, if it's printed really nice, if it's really beautifully designed, if it's got some images on there that you're, really proud of, you can even do multiple brochures. You can have one that's geared for weddings, one that's geared for regular events, one that's geared for portraits. You know, a lot of these online printing companies too, like Vistaprints. I mean, you see ads for them all the time, even on TV. You know, their quality's okay. You know, you can get a nice 4-color job, nice gloss or matte finish on it on nice weight paper. The color may not be exactly what you want all the time, but if you're producing a couple hundred of these things, you really don't want to do them out of your inkjet printer. You know, you don't want to go down to Staples and run them on the color copy down there. You know, the color is just not going to be accurate enough, you know?
Yeah. So I guess, you know, so taking it into a more global thing and kind of, you know, kind of do a synopsis, do something that's different. Don't do, you know, more of the same. Don't do what everyone else is doing. And that's with displaying your work. That's with everything. You know, you want to be different. You know, you don't want to do, and the same thing with what we're talking about with the filters. Don't do what everyone else is doing. It's too easy and everyone is doing it. And that's why everyone is doing it, because they don't want to put forth the effort to create. Like we were saying, if you want to do something linear and you need to get to point A and point to point B very quickly, it's okay. But if you're trying to create, make a name for yourself and actually put work out there that, you know, represents you and what you're trying to say, you know, take the time and, you know, don't do the more of the same, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're not saying change for the sake of change.
Exactly.
But you want to change for a reason. You know, you definitely, if you're going to make a change, you want it to be well thought out and really research it and know what it is that you're doing, why you're making the change. You know, you could make a change and go down a completely wrong path, and, you know, if you don't think through it. So put some time in and
that's why I always say, you know, mediocrity is no longer acceptable. Be stellar or be nothing. That's my motto that I've had for years, and I really believe that. And, you know, I think we'll kind of end it with that. We need to get out of here. Oh, my God, we're running late.
Yes, we do. We do. It's been another long show. Ooh. So, all right. So, Joe, if people want to connect with you, where's the best place to reach you?
You can find me on Twitter. That's at Joseph Christina, and that's Christina without an H.
Great. And you can connect with me on Twitter. It's at Trevor Current.
Awesome. Awesome. So that is another show in the can. This is episode 95. Oh, goodness, Trevor. That's getting up there. So anyways, if you want to find our show notes, head over to digitalphotographycafe.com/95. And don't forget, if you enjoy the show, please give us a 5-star review in iTunes by simply visiting digitalphotographycafe.com/iTunes. So keep your questions and comments coming, and we'll see you next week.
You've been watching the Digital Photography Cafe Show with Trevor Current and Joseph Christina. Be sure to subscribe to the show for free in iTunes or through RSS. You can also listen on Stitcher and TuneIn Radio and watch in HD on TiVo. Visit digitalphotographycafe.com for show notes and to connect with your hosts.